First of all, we have Abbi Jacobson, who is an actress, writer, producer, illustrator. She co-created and co-starred in the series Broad City, which I know there are a lot of fans here of that tonight. She's had other roles in Mitchells and the Machines, the Lego, I'm going to say this wrong, Ninjago movie, Princess Bean, Disenchantment, Person to Person, Six Balloons, and she also was a writer and co-creator of the series A League of Their Own, which I also know was a huge fan favorite. And for those of you from PA, she's a PA native, so she's here, Redmond, Pennsylvania. And then Jodi is a South African actress. She won a Canadian Screen Award for her performance in a series of Bomb Girls, and she starred in the Apple TV series For All Mankind. And Abbi just told me that she played the first woman president in that show. So For All Mankind on Apple TV. Everyone should go check it out. And she also has had recurring roles as Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis in The Crown. And I personally, Ted Lasso, I'm sure there's tons of Ted Lasso fans. You had a recurring role in Ted Lasso. So we are so excited to have you all here tonight. Julie, I'm going to bring you up too, so you can ask some of these questions.
So many women in the red, wine, and blue community are getting involved for the very first time. So when did you two become politically active?
I think I became like politically frustrated, definitely for the first time in high school, which was during the election with the Bush and Gore. That was terrible. And I think that was when I was like, oh, this is dire and scary. And I don't think that I wish, looking back, that I'd become more active at that time. I think growing up, I just wasn't around a ton of people being active. I think it was really, and this is like me, this is kind of embarrassing because Gen Z seems to be so much more active than I was when I was that age. But I think it was really around the Broad City time and having a little bit more of a voice and a platform in which to convey the way I was feeling frustrated, and using that platform to talk about things. And I will say, and like she knows this, Alana, who I did Broad City with, is so politically active and has a whole thing called Generator Collective, and she's so engaged. And even just when we started in Broad City, like that was just something that drew me to her so much. She was so in it, and I think that was something I learned a lot from her. And so I would say like my mid-20s. So I felt like I was late, but I don't think it's ever too late to really become active.
Yeah, I was kind of late too. I have a similar story. I mean, maybe frustration is how everybody starts, and frustration becomes action, hopefully. But I grew up in South Africa, as was mentioned, and I've only lived in the States for the last 10 years and really only been a citizen for the last 2 years. Is that right? But as I was living in the States before I was a citizen, I just I feel like my whole life I've had a very strong sense of like justice and sort of like be very drawn to fighting for justice. And yeah, it was very like frustrating not being able to vote yet while I was living here and sort of seeing all around me things that I would vote for if I could. But I had the opportunity to get involved in a local city council race in LA. And that was the first time I was really like involved in a campaign and knocking on doors and there at the voting booth on the day, and got super versed in that woman's campaign. And she is an elected official now, which is very exciting. But yeah, that was the first time, and it felt like a really lovely way for me personally to get involved, because it was so micro to our immediate environment, and there was such an opportunity to like see the impact. So yeah, it was a very positive experience, and it's all sort of grown from there.
And that's great. And I think once you get started, which is we tell everybody on this call, you know, you start taking action, you do something, it really just becomes easier, and it does make you feel better. It makes you feel like you're actually taking, you know, you're not just frustrated, you're actually doing something to be helpful. And so that's why we want everyone to be involved here tonight. Congratulations on the citizenship and being able to vote. We appreciate you voting here.
Thank you.
So let's have a little bit of fun questions here. So obviously, we're excited to have you here. We're excited to have celebrities willing to step up and be involved, and coming to events like this and sharing. So you guys have both been in some pretty popular shows. We'd just love to know, like, any good stories. What was it like to be on some of these shows where you became household names and everybody recognized you on the street? Any good stories behind that you'd love to share with us?
Just leaning into like the political narrative that we're here for. I mean, so it seems so crazy now that I'm even saying this, that we had Hillary Clinton on the show, because like, what if you watch Broad City, we had so many incredible guest stars. It was really like an embarrassment of riches. And then in our 4th season, or maybe the 3rd season, I can't believe I can't remember. We asked Hillary Clinton, and we were so lucky because Amy Poehler was one of our executive producers. So like, she had played Hillary for so long, and that was like a sort of, I think that's why Hillary trusted us.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, on SNL, she played Hillary for a long time.
Okay.
And thanks, Amanda. But that was like the day that happened. We were just like, everyone was like, oh my God, it's happening. Like, it just stepped us into like a different level of like, what are we doing? And also it was like the election was happening. Like, this was leading up to the election. And also we were also at the time Hillary and Bernie fans, but it felt like it was really going toward Hillary, and we were such Hillary fans also. And so we're like, okay, this is such a huge deal. There was like secret security and all this stuff. And the script, what I had to say to her, what I got to say to her, basically, my character we are so flustered talking to her that it made it easy, because we were also so flustered in real life. But I say to Hillary Clinton that I pegged, which I'm not going to explain on this call. I don't think you should. And I think that you guys should like open up a little tab if you don't know what that means. It's a big storyline on Broad City. But I say that to Hillary Clinton, and it is wild. And she just laughs at me. Yeah, that was really insane. How about you?
I mean, I can't top that with an on-set story. No, it's so funny. It's actually, since Abbi and I have known one another, it's really interesting to compare stories from work, because I have mostly worked on dramas and Abbi has almost entirely worked in comedy. And it's just like, let's just say they're having more fun on the comedy sets, okay?
Yeah, we're having more fun.
So yeah, I don't really have any like titillating bits.
Well, but you played Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. I just found out that you played the first female president.
I know, how funny is that? I've only just realized, like, recently been like, right, a first lady and a first female president. I don't know what I'm supposed to make of that, but I
think the Jackie experience, from what you've told me, is like wild. I mean, like, Jackie Onassis had like such a specific accent that Jodi had to learn, and like, she's since become friendly with like family members, and like, it's been really beautiful. Actually, I've gotten to know Jackie's granddaughter a little bit, which is like beyond. Oh, thank you, Ivy. But no, it was wild, because I mean, playing someone that beloved and that well known, I just felt like I couldn't possibly achieve it, you know. But it's also like legacy to play Jackie. It is. I have come from the lineage with many other incredible actresses I admire. But yes, that's a really good point. I always forget that I'm so like used to that, but it was such a big deal. Yes, on the show For All Mankind, I play the first openly gay woman who becomes president and is a Republican. So spoiler alert. Yeah, sorry. This will happen in season 3. I'm really ruining it for everybody. But you know she's gay from the beginning. It's a really great show, and she's also an astronaut in it. Like, there's scenes that I've never done anything like that.
Wait, you're an astronaut who becomes the first gay Republican president, female president. Okay. This is a plot line I think I'm going to have to go explore.
Yeah, same.
Well, I think a lot of astronauts go into politics. It's like a very prestigious sort of government type.
Yeah, well, there's like an administration track that even begins at NASA. Anyway, yes, it's a very fun show. I am one of an incredible ensemble. You should totally see it if you haven't yet.
Apple TV, everybody. Okay, so quick question. Julie, I know I'm cutting you off, but we'll get to the next questions. How do you prepare for a role like playing Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis? Because,
With
you
so
won't
much
know.
support, is the short answer. But I mean, that experience, getting that job was a very particular experience. But as soon as I knew it was mine, they really equipped me with so many resources that the show already had. So I inherited their dialect coach, and I inherited their research department, and even just the construction of the dresses I wore was so thorough and extraordinary. Like, it felt very immersive, but just so much reading and research and practicing of like the voice and physicality, which is actually part of the job I love the most, is like, particularly with roles like that that demand research or demand a new skill. I had to learn French. I took French lessons for 6 weeks for a scene that ended up in the episode that is approximately 10 seconds long.
Wow.
It was wild. But yeah, it's daunting, for all the reasons I said before. And I'm not sure I actually got it right. But also, what does that even mean? Stephen Daldry, who directed the episode, said to me very early on in the process, which was a balm to me throughout, that they're not making a documentary. It's a work of art and it's a work of imagination. So I leaned on that.
That's good to
You're
know.
probably going to ask me like how I prepared to play Abby on Broad City and how hard that was for me too. I'm kidding.
Hey, you're being vulnerable. You know what I mean? So
I also actually took French lessons for 5 weeks too, just to have it in case.
Just to inform the character's
just to
backstory.
inform the character.
Yeah.
just so you could talk to Jodi, or you could have,
Yeah.
Oh, I can't speak any French
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah. So right, yeah, I will.
Kind of like my junior high and high school experiences. Yeah, none. So what issues are top of mind for you both?
Yeah, I mean, all the main bullet points you, Julie, said, and that was in the presentation earlier, I think are top of mind. I mean, reproductive rights, climate is huge. We're also married, which feels like a thing.
Well, there was literally a threat made that's what's next. So, yeah.
So LGBTQIA plus, I might be not including some things in that, are rights, civil liberties. That's very personal, obviously, to us, but so are all of them. They're all fucking personal.
Yeah, it's so hard to choose. And then the minute you like go into the social issues, you're reminded about the environment, and I like truly shudder to my bones.
I mean, also there's like another school shooting today. I mean, that is a constant reminder. Gun control, everything. But yeah, I mean, I think your list is our list, and all of the things.
So how do you talk to your friends and family members on these issues?
Yeah, I feel like you should speak for yourself, but my family lives in Canada now, actually, and it's quite interesting to chat sometimes about the difference in policies between the two countries. But a lot of our friends are fairly like-minded, but I will say, and this is kind of a left field, maybe slightly divergent, but the friend I think about a lot is a friend who I think would ordinarily vote Democrat and align on all these issues, but is very troubled by and finding it to be an obstacle, that she's less troubled by everything that's been going on in Israel-Palestine. And I find those conversations actually to be the ones that I'm really interested in having, but can be very sensitive and challenging to have, because it is for some people just an absolute roadblock. And then it is interesting to try to be like, yes, absolutely. And if we allow Donald Trump to be elected, this is what happens at home, and that's so complicated because human rights are human rights for all people all around the world. But those are the conversations that I've been finding the most complex to have.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then I also, Joe's family doesn't live in the States, so my family does, and I'm very fortunate that all of my immediate family are already sort of have a lot of the same political thinking that I do. But I have found that my parents have friends, and who knows, there's a chance my mom is on here. She sneaks on sometimes.
Hi, Suze, if you are.
But I know that she has friends who voted for Trump last time, and it's a huge issue. Friends that were her neighbors, and you know, if they're, why am I like whispering? It's like, were her neighbors and like didn't tell their kids were super liberal, didn't tell their kids that they voted for Trump. And like, you know, Julie, what you said is like, sometimes you're friends with people not because they share every value with you, but you grew up with them, or you love them for this other reason, or your friends, you know, we don't have kids, but like your kids play together and like you're in their lives, and what do you do with that? And my mom has been struggling so much with this relationship and feeling not sure about what to do about it. Can she still be friends with them? Like, and so I talked to her a lot about that. And I think like my aunts and uncles have a lot of people in their lives that are like that. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I feel like everywhere is important, but I really feel like Pennsylvania, I really feel like Pennsylvania is like so important. And so really all these conversations matter. And I think I try to tell her to engage with an open mind and be willing to have that discourse, and not just come in with like a, but this, and like sort of just try to hear them out.
I feel like also it's, at least in the few times I've tried to do this, it really helps in my experience to personalize things and to understand where someone else is coming from and how it's personal to them, and to really find room for empathy and understanding before it just becomes like a ferocious debate or something, you know, because that usually doesn't move the needle in my limited experience. But
I mean, this is an interesting story. Sorry. And I know we like, should we
keep going, tell your story.
Okay. So my dad actually, I was catching up with my dad recently, and I told you this, and he was like, we were out, him and his wife, my stepmom, they were out, and he was like, we made new friends. And he's like, there's two couples and we're sitting at this bar. I don't think my dad's on here, but he might. Hey, Dad. And we're sitting at this bar, and he's like, we're hitting it off, and we're talking about our kids. And the two couples, my dad is talking about his kids. My brother's a graphic designer. He's so talented. And then he mentions what I do. And they're like, oh, what does she work on? And he said, Broad City. And they were like such fans. I'm saying this because it took a turn. They're like such fans. And then he was like, and then they're talking and they're hitting it off more. And then they say to me, you know, we just need to tell you we're Republicans. And my dad was like, so thrown, I think because of the Broad City fan, that's a weird Venn diagram, to like love our show and to be a Republican still. And he was like taking this as an opportunity. He's like, we're going to hang out with them again because I really like these people. And I'm very curious. I think it's a curiosity of like, how, not in a rude way, like you don't come in like, how can you be, you know, but it is like, how are you in this,
given what's at stake?
Like Republicans of like yesteryear, like the Mitt Romney Republican, John McCain Republican, I understand to a certain extent, you know, like fiscal Republicans, like I can understand the thought process, but right now doesn't feel like where we are. And so he's really approaching it with a curiosity. And I think with like not a goal, but like, maybe I can actually be impactful here and change their mind, or just understand them enough and they can understand my point of view. I thought that was really interesting. This was just like a couple weeks ago. I know that we need to, like, we're doing this with you too, but we need to be doing it more. And even just getting our friends to do this is really awesome. And it's like, this is really like dire, which you all know, and it's really fucking scary, and starting to be hopeful again. But thank you all for doing this and taking time out of your night. And yeah, we just appreciate it as like other citizens. So
Truly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate everybody coming, being willing to do this, using their voice to talk to their friends. So would love to get you guys into the Rally Your Squad program. If you already have Rally, then I want you to open it right now. I want you to look for an action. I want you to add contacts or friends if you haven't yet. If you have, let's look at the actions, and while we're doing this, let's send out some actions tonight. Let's like notify them about Project 2025. Let's talk to them about, have they checked their voter registration? Check out all the actions in there, because we really need to make sure everybody's turning out to vote. So we kind of just have this conversation, but we're going to talk about who we're trying to reach. Okay. So we want to talk to our like-minded friends. And I know a lot of us are like, my friends all vote. I know they do. No, they don't. If you go in and look at some of the voter data that you'll be able to get in Rally, you'll be surprised that you have friends who say they vote and they don't. Maybe they intended to vote the day of the election and it was bad weather or they got sick. But we need to make sure they have a voting plan. And we also need to make sure that they're voting the entire ballot, okay? Because this is not just about the top of the ticket. Who is in your state legislature, your Supreme Court, your judicial seats, your school board, all of those are very important. And a lot of people only vote top of the ticket and stop. And we can actually have a huge impact if we can just get people to vote the entire ticket and vote for the common sense candidates. So talk to those like-minded friends, make sure they have a plan, make sure they know who the candidates are. Your moderate non-political friends, definitely need to talk to them. These are your friends who pay no attention to politics. They know who's running for president, no idea what else is on the ballot, probably don't know about Project 2025, don't know what's truly at stake in this election. We need to have those conversations. And like we just talked about, the right-wing believers, nope, we are not focusing on them. We have 2 months to the election. So if you have the uncle who is MAGA and you want to work on him, great. Have those really in-depth conversations after the election. If that's a marathon, not a sprint, we are in a sprint. So focus on those people that you can persuade, spend those 2 hours talking to friends you can make a difference with. We're not going to spend those 2 hours trying to convince your neighbor who believes in QAnon stuff. So if you are in Rally, what you're going to see is it's easy. You're just going to either create an account. So you're either going to use Google or Yahoo, and you can, log right in. You'll have to probably confirm in your account, and then you'll be able just to use that to log right in. Or you can use another email address if you do not have Yahoo or Google, and you'll go in and again, confirm the account, but then you will always have a magic link. There is no passwords for Rally. So you're going to join the campaign. You're going to pick the state that you live in, one of those 5 states that I mentioned, or it'll say other states because we are national on this campaign now. And then you're going to set up your profile. So it's really easy. You just enter your name, your legal name that you registered to vote, your address, and then you will be shown the voter file, and you can match yourself in the voter file. That's me there on the top. So you match yourself to the voter file. If you don't see your name, then you click none of these, and please go check your voter registration, because I know a lot of states are purging. I live in Ohio. And then we want you to start adding your friends. Who are the people that you are going to contact, that you are going to be like, these are my voters, I got them, I am doing the outreach to these people. We would love for you to think of 10 to 12 people to do that with, more if possible. But start tonight with your bestie, your significant other, your adult child, just to practice. So you're going to click on the tasks tab and you'll see build your squad, click add contact, and then you are going to go in and add that person's name. And again, it has to be their legal name because we are going to match them to the voter file. So it is only their name, their city and their state, and their age range. That is the information we need to match to the voter file. It's publicly available information. We are not contacting your friend. We are not asking for email. We are not asking for a phone number. We will never contact anybody. That defeats the whole point. You don't want some organization they've never heard of reaching out. We want you to do the outreach to your friends. And the reason we love using Rally is that's one of the reasons, is because you decide who you're going to do the outreach to. It's not an app that like takes all of your contacts from your phone. It's not an app, so it can't send any kind of notifications. So this is what we want. We want to make sure that you are the one doing the outreach, and we want to help you be really effective at that. After you add your friend, match them to the voter file. If they're not listed, click none of these. And again, immediately reach out to them about checking their voter registration. There's a key question, and that question is just, is this person like a number 1, which means they are ready to go, like they should be volunteering, or are they like a 4, like they need some persuasion? Because we will set actions in Rally to target certain types of people. So we're maybe going to have an action for someone who's a number 1 to get involved with us, which we would never send to someone who needs to be persuaded. We'll use different language. We'll have different asks, so you can be really targeted in your outreach to people. And then, like I said, you're going to go in, you're going to add your friend, you're going to answer the key question, and then you can start taking action under tasks. You're going to see all the actions we have listed, and you're going to pick that friend that you want to take action with. You're going to send them that information, whatever it might be. And then you're going to come back in and you're going to say that I did it at the bottom of that friend's name. That is how we know a voter has been reached. It's just like when you canvass door to door and you have a list and you mark if you talked to them or they didn't or they weren't home. We know we made a difference. We were able to show you that we had a 10% increase in voter turnout because there was data to back that up. We were able to show who was contacted after the election was over, and we're going to be able to see our impact. And like I said, relational organizing has a tremendous impact. That is why you see so many more candidates really leaning into it this cycle. My congressman here in Ohio, all about relational organizing. So if you guys have not done it yet, I'm going to put this back up. Rally, you can text it to the 59868. You can scan the QR code. When we get to breakouts, you guys can ask any other questions if you have. You should be getting an email tonight from me with our toolkit that explains to you how to get in, how to like get back into it later on. It'll just give you all the information you need to be really good at this. It's like your one-stop shop. This is the way that you can be super effective. You will be able to see voting records, which is public record, but you'll be able to see, does your friend always vote? Has your friend asked for an absentee ballot? Have they already voted so you can stop reaching out to them? It's a great way to also keep track of who you've talked to, when you talk to them. We will give you the messaging that you need. So what to say, we will make it timely. So as things start popping off or happening, we'll keep updating with new things. So this is a really effective way all the way up to election day to make a difference in this election. Thank you all for hanging out. I hope you guys were able to get in there and you can start texting and calling and talking to all your friends, especially in Pennsylvania. Super important, Abby. We're going to count on you for that one. Jodi, actually, I was going to ask you because you are originally from South Africa, and I know you spent a lot of time in Canada. Earl mentioned to me, your friend Earl, who helped get you guys here tonight, that one of the things that is really important to really think about too is like, do you do outreach to your like American citizen friends who live abroad? Do you have a lot of friends in that network?
I haven't been, but Earl's really made me aware of that. And I made myself aware of that in that I let myself down in a really big way in missing the deadline to register to vote abroad for the South African election that happened a few months ago. And I just about killed myself over it. But the thing I can do is try to remind other people that like, I wish maybe I had been reminded. So yeah, I think, and Earl was really saying what an impact that can have. Like truly, if we up the voter engagement of folks abroad, it can make a really big difference. So I've been thinking about Abbi and my friends who are Americans who are also Canadians, but they might be in Canada around the election, or folks who moved to the UK but are Americans.
We have a lot of people who live in the UK that married someone who's British. And so they've been there, but they still are US citizens. And, you think that they're obviously going to vote here, but it's just a really, not untapped, but like it's an essential place to sort of hit people up just to make sure and make sure they have their absentee ballots in time. I
think there's even like a different, I've got to teach myself about this a bit more, but there's even a different process because you can't send in an absentee from London.
It's an abroad.
There's like a specific system.
I should have someone that knows more. I don't know more.
But I do think it's a very worthwhile thing to be able just to text a pal who you know is there. I mean, it's so, I think getting really like engaged with what's going on can be so contagious. And if you're kind of siloed in a part of the world where it isn't as much, unless you're watching the news and you're getting a lot of news from your social media or whatever, I can understand how it would be something that suddenly the day is upon you and you haven't done it and it's too late.
100%.
Which was my experience that I want to help save others from.
So I think we already talked about this a little bit, Abbi, but you are from Pennsylvania. Are you talking to friends and family there? What are they saying? It is like the pivotal state in this election. Are you hearing anything from people in Pennsylvania about what they're hearing on the ground?
I haven't been like hearing stuff on the ground, but I do feel like I'm eager to reach out to, I'm still friendly with a lot of people I went to high school with, that a lot of them live there, but a lot of them don't live there anymore, but they're still like me, they still have family that live there. So it's like sort of like rallying them to hit up friends and family that still live in Pennsylvania, because they live in San Francisco, and California is sort of way more liberal and not a purple state. So it's about hitting up the people that are, for me, hitting up the people I know, family, friends that are in Pennsylvania, and also the people who, like, one of my best friends lives in Massachusetts, in Boston, and I'm like, dude, let's, like, these are the tools for Pennsylvania people. You know, it's like about rallying the people that have connections to Pennsylvania to go back.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah. Any of your friends that live anywhere in the country, I don't care where they live, if they have friends in PA, they need to be calling, texting, talking, just making sure they have a plan to vote, that they've thought that through. Yeah, Pennsylvania has some different laws about early voting. I'm not even going to try to explain them because I'm not even sure I understand them myself. My Pennsylvania team can do that. That's here tonight.
I
But
think
yeah, making sure that people have a plan to get out there and vote.
a question I have actually for you guys, and you might be answering this in the breakout rooms, but like a thing that I find so helpful, even when I'm voting in my state elections, I'm like, we have a friend who's so politically active, that he is always so helpful with like a cheat sheet, because there's a lot of information. There's a lot of candidates, and sometimes you're tapped in over here and you like don't know everything about the school district, or you just are tapped into different areas. And I am curious, like, for those states, like in the breakout rooms, is it about like creating sort of a cheat sheet of like what are the key races and where we can send our friends and family so they know, like, when you get into the booth, this is sort of like a Cliff's Notes of like that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, we do have, like I said, we have 5 states where we have organizers that we really target. So we definitely have key targeted races in those states. So it depends. Every state is different.
Right.
Some people have the school board, some people don't. And of course, there's so many school boards across the country. So one of the things is we do have targeted races. So we really will help direct people to those. Can't possibly be in every single race in every single county across every single state. But one thing we do at Red, Wine, and Blue, and for those of you who don't know, is we have what's called Trouble Nation. And this is we encourage local organizing. So we say to you, hey, I live in Mason, Ohio. I have a local group. You want to start one in the city next to me? Because we can get more people involved. We start local organizing. We help support that local organizing. And then those people can really do that deep dive into who's on their ballot, who's at their city council race, their school board race. We personally, in my local group, we put out a ballot for our people so that anybody in our Facebook group can come and print that off.
Yeah.
But it's that really hyper local organizing that makes such an impact in that, because national organizations can't be in every single, like I said, little race for every single thing across the country. We definitely have our targeted races that we're looking into because it's Congress, it's president, it is an extremist running for school board somewhere that we're targeting.
Right.
But yes, for sure. So the local organizing is so important, and that is definitely where it is at. I know we need to go to breakouts. My last question, I was just going to say, so Jodi, you've lived in Canada, other places. What differences do you see between like living in Canada, living in the United States? Like, what would you love to see become reality?
The most glaring thing, and I fact checked this with her today because I wanted to make sure I wasn't exaggerating, but the most glaring thing to me is just access to healthcare. My family lives in BC, and my sister had 2 children while living in Victoria, British Columbia. Yes, sorry. And it did not cost her a single cent to have either of her children, including like the blood work and the scans leading up to her delivering them. Not a cent. And then that was followed up by, I believe, more than a year of paid maternal leave. And her husband was also allocated like 8 months of paternal leave. So just, that would be nice. Yeah, that's kind of the glaring one. And, Canadian politics from when I lived there to now have changed a lot too. Like they're also was just visiting my family, and they're concerned about a similar, not as extreme, but like some extremist agendas and a conservative sort of trend up there as well. So yeah.
Well, that's a very huge glaring difference. I kind of suspected that was what you were going to say. That example is, I mean, very glaring. I mean, I've had 3 kids and it costs a lot of money to have those 3 kids.
Yeah.
So